everyone, this is Yana Smakula for simonsastamp.com, and thank you for joining me today. I'm all in the summer mood right now, and so I'm going to be making a fun summery card mixing a couple of Simon's old and new stamp sets. I'm going to start by stamping the Sunshine from the My Sunshine stamp set onto a white panel, and this is cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I will be trimming this later to a slightly smaller piece, and right now I have it in my mini Misty, and I'm going to be using Misty for stamping pretty much everything for this project. You can by all means stamp this by using a clear block, and this card doesn't involve any techniques that require you to use Misty. I'm simply using it because I find it convenient and easier. I'm using Simon's Duckling ink to stamp the Sunshine, and I'm pretty happy with the first impression so that I don't need to double stamp it. If you do double stamp it, you're going to get a darker, more saturated yellow color. So if you want a darker color, go ahead and double stamp this, or just use a Sunshine ink from Simon. That one will give you a much darker yellow. I'm also going to stamp a set of sentiments, and these aren't going to be my main sentiments. These are just filler sentiments, so to speak. They are only there to fill in the empty space on a card and just to add some interest. I guess you can also say they are additional supportive messages for this project. So I'm stamping the summer definition from the Pool Play set and also Lifeguard on Duty, also from the same set, and once again using Duckling color for my stamping. Next, I need to stamp my main sentiment, and this is the bold Hello. This one comes from the Flip Flop Season stamp set, and it's going to be the main sentiment on my card. So I'm stamping it in black, and I'm using Simon's Intense Black for this. This is alcohol marker friendly ink, and the reason I'm using this ink instead of a regular black ink is because I will be coloring these outline letters with a black Copic marker to have a solid hello, not an outline hello. So if you want to do the same, make sure to use Copic-friendly ink. And I also would not suggest stamping this in VersaFine Onyx Black. That will bleed in the sections where the hello overlaps with the Sunshine, especially if you double stamp the Sunshine. So if you don't plan to do any coloring, just use dye ink for stamping. I'm also going to add one more little word to my panel. I'm stamping Sunshine so that it reads Hello Sunshine. I have a stamp that says You Are My Sunshine, and I'm going to mask the You Are part and just ink up the Sunshine part. You can do stamp surgery if you want and just cut the Sunshine part off and skip the whole masking, but I don't mind masking it besides, it's very easy to do so in my mini Misty. So I'm covering the part that I don't want with washi tape, inking over the part that I do want, removing washi tape, and stamping. And I'm also going to double stamp this as it didn't stamp well the first time. So right now the panel is pretty much done, and I'm going to set it aside for now. I'm going to stamp a few lifeguards for my card. There's a sentiment that says Lifeguard on Duty, and I decided I wanted to add a few funny lifeguards to my project. I'm using a bird from the Cuddly Critter Accessories stamp set. I stamped him 3 times in black, again using Simon's Intense Black as I plan to color him and his buddies. And I'm going to zoom in here and start coloring. So there's nothing special in terms of coloring. I have the caps of my markers out so that you can see what colors I'm using. And I'm going with the same colors or the same color combo that I plan to use for my card. So I have yellows, and I'm using slightly darker yellows that I used for my stamping. So coloring his beaks, wings, and feathers on his head in yellow. And for the body of the bird, I'm going with teals. I will be using scuba ink to stamp one more element for my card, so that scuba works beautifully together with these teal colors here. So I'm using several colors and going from light to dark, and then I'm using the lightest blue marker to blend the colors out. I'm going to use a matching die and cut these out, and this is pretty much the only die cutting that I'm going to be doing for this card. Everything else is stamped here. And once I have these die cut, I'm going to grab my wide stripe background stamp from Simon and scuba ink and ink up just a portion of this background. This is my go-to stamp for summer cards. I always like to use it, and I love stamping it in a few colors. Scuba is sort of like my first choice, my go-to color for this particular stamp, but I also love using yellow and gray when I'm stamping this. If you don't have this stamp, I highly recommend getting it. It is really a perfect stamp for a lot of cards. And I don't always use the entire background here. I like to use just a portion and create a small strip of stripe patterned paper like I'm doing here. And when I'm stamping this particular stamp, I like to use my brayer with it to be able to have the perfect ink transfer. But if you have MISTI, the larger MISTI, you can stamp it in the MISTI. So here's the pattern stamped. I'm going to go ahead and trim this onto a strip. And I'm also going to trim a strip of gold glitter paper. This particular paper is from Tim Holtz and it's self-adhesive. You can use gold glitter washi tape or just add a strip of double-sided adhesive and pour glitter over it if you don't have this or similar glitter paper. I'm going to adhere this glitter strip onto my striped stamped piece, and I've taped this piece to my mat to be able to better align things and to make sure it won't move on my work surface. And now I can go ahead and adhere this behind the stamped panel. I forgot to mention that I trimmed this panel just a little bit to make sure I had enough room on the sides for the gold and for the stripe. And once that is adhered, I'm going to use a black Copic marker and just color the outline of my hello. I really like this stamp, the outline hello, because there's a lot of looks you can have with it. You can leave it as is, a simple outline. You can color the outline with whatever color you want. And you can also, once you've colored the outline and made it solid, stamp another outline over it for a little shadow effect. So once it's been colored, I'm going to foam mount the lifeguards over the hello, and I'm using foam adhesive here as I always want at least a few of the elements on my projects to pop and be dimensional, so I almost never go without foam adhesive. I've already adhered this panel onto an A2 top folding card base, and lastly I'm going to add sequins to my card. I'm using sparkling clear mix from Pretty Pink Posh and going to adhere those using multi-medium adhesive in matte finish. I also added just a few more clear droplets. I can never do without them, and that finishes my project. So here's a closer look at this fun summer card. Very easy to make, and it's sure to bring a smile to the person who's going to receive it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!